In our news headlines today, we will be looking at the statement coming from the Commissioner of Police requesting states of emergency. Then in our second story, we will be looking at tighter curfews to curb the pandemic, a mandate issued by the Prime Minister. Then we will review the new mandate for the local government elections that have been issued by Desmond Mackenzie, the Minister of Local Government. In our fourth story of the day, we will look at the issue that is being brought up by Vybz Kartel's attorneys in regards to accessing his phone that was used as a major item of evidence in his case. Crime continues to raise its ugly head across multiple parishes in Jamaica. The Commissioner of Police is calling for a state of emergencies. Reports coming in are that 8 persons have lost their lives in just under 48 hours. These dangerous men continue to attempt to terrorize St. Catherine North. A man in Spanish Town was held up on Monday night and ordered to call for his wife. They later sprayed his wife with these dangerous accessories from these dangerous tools, and their children had to lock themselves tightly in a room. 68-year-old man was also found in bushes in Kitson Town on Monday, and he had no head. On Brunswick Avenue, a 28-year-old person lost his life outside of a car. His eyes were missing. You can see that this issue is continuing to pervade through this constituency of St. Catherine North. It is a division that is being plagued by these violent issues. Another person named Reed lost her life at her home on Old Harbour Road in Thompson Pen. Reed's mother had to go and check on the 3 children who had barricaded themselves inside a room as soon as the incident was over, and she gave them the go-ahead to come out. The police has reported that the incident occurred shortly after 6 p.m. Reed was the firstborn of 3 children for her mother, who along with the children have been left traumatized by the incident. The youngest child, who is 5 years old, wanted to go and look at his mother. However, his grandmother had to tell him, "No, baby, you cannot see her again." Reed's husband managed to escape the grasp of one of the dangerous men and bolted away from the scene. The family is also worried as one of the lady's son, Dennis, has been reported missing after not returning home on Monday. The theory is that he was kidnapped after reports surfaced that men had forced him into a car. Over on Brunswick Avenue, residents are still shocked at the loss of life of Angus. Statements coming from the Commissioner of Police is that if he had his way, the states of public emergencies that were lifted ahead of the September 3rd parliamentary elections would still be in effect. According to the Commissioner, if it was left to him, then the state of public emergencies would not have been lifted. He said that, you know the reason. They wouldn't be gone because the circumstances say that when you can get a 70% drop in loss of lives in St. James and it's still over 100, then you have a problem. Objected to the notion that states of emergencies required more members of security forces to operate. Again, this is the myth that is being perpetrated. It takes more assets to do the same things without a state of emergency. It means now that every time the JDF goes out, we have to find a police officer to send with them. So we have to do what was happening before, plus find a police officer. So it reduces the flexibility as well. So if they get a tip, they, the army personnel, cannot move unless they have a police officer turn up and join them. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang, who led the tour of the police stations, is arguing that the state of emergencies were not intended to last forever. He pointed out that despite their successes, the need for special security measures still exists. The government does not intend to have state of emergencies for an entire lifetime. The police is not seeking for that time. We are saying that the level of inter-gang war and criminal activities are long-standing. They are endemic, they are chronic, and it takes time to overcome all of these if we're going to provide public safety and good order. We need special security measures. We don't need all these powers in normal stations. We have kept ourselves together, yet we have the highest loss of life rate in a democratic society. According to Commissioner Anderson, he is reinforcing the point that the enhanced security measure was not intended to be permanent, but he was also quick to underscore that in St. James alone, it resulted in a 70% drop in loss of lives. It wasn't intended forever, but rather than look at a timeline, I think we should focus on how many of our people are being taken away, and if this is acceptable, and does the measure work? Well, of course, ours works. 70% decrease in a year. It absolutely does work. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced that there will be tighter curfew hours for Christmas and New Year's holidays. However, there will be a relaxation for the other days in December and January. Currently, the curfew starts at 9 p.m. nightly and ends at 5 a.m. in the morning. For the period December 1 to January 15th, curfews will start at 10 p.m. nightly and end at 5 a.m., except for Boxing Day and Christmas Day. For Christmas Day and Boxing Day, the curfew will start at 7 p.m. and ends at 5 p.m., and a similar time frame will be in place for New Year's Day. The government will be continuing to put a ban on parties and events during the holidays as well. The gathering limit of 15 persons in public will remain in place, but the measure has now been extended to private spaces as well. The minister is urging all persons to act responsible as they continue to celebrate Christmas. Celebrate Christmas within your houses. I definitely will miss celebrating Christmas in the normal way, it added. The opposition leader Mark Golding has mentioned that he had no issue with the measures and noted that they are seeking to strike a reasonable balance as the country continues to grapple with the pandemic. Bill, which was being piloted by the local government minister Desmond McKenzie, now allows for amendments to be made to the local government elections laws, and they have been moved to February 2022. The House of Representatives recently approved amendments to the Representation of the People's Act to allow the local government elections to be moved to February 27, 2022. Local government elections are usually held every 4 years, and the last elections were held on November 28, 2016. This means that another election would have been due on November 29th of this year. However, the new law allows for the extension to be done up to February 2021. Previous to that, the law allowed for a 90-day extension, which would have placed the deadline at February 27th, 2021. However, according to McKenzie, more time is required given the current situation in Jamaica. He said that the pandemic, the risk of exposure to the pandemic if an election is held, and the financial constraints that are already being exacerbated by infrastructure damage caused by the recent heavy rains have contributed to his decision to file for that motion. These factors, among others, that frame the background in which the law was amended to stipulate that the polls be pushed back to a date no later than February 27th, 2022. Final story for today. The attorneys at law for Vybz Kartel are moving to gain access to his cell phone. Attorney at law Buchanan, who now represents incarcerated dancehall artist Vybz Kartel, has issued an allegation that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is moving shady and dodgy as the office has largely frustrated the attempts of the defense to gain access to Exhibit 14C, which is the cell phone which contained controversial voice notes allegedly recorded by Vybz Kartel. The DPP is being very dodgy and shady and very deliberate in their action to continue to violate the constitutional rights of Mr. Palmer. Despite the attempts of myself and the Queen's Counsel, we have been unable to get access to the cell phone, which we believe has evidence of tampering. Buchanan has been voicing concerns that the office of the DPP has acted as authors of further delay in the matter, seeking to frustrate the defense's bid to gain access to the cell phone. We have represented our concerns by writing to agents in England, and we hope that this activity will move the Privy Council to force their hand to release the phone so that we can confirm whether or not it was tampered with. Voice notes laced with some serious words and some serious threats, which were believed to be from an accused person in the name of Vybz Kartel, were leaked to the public years ago after they were played for jurors in the Home Circuit Court. Some of the voice notes that were dated from as far back as August 14, 2011. The sender said that he was informed that his 2 new shoes were missing and that the guilty party would lose his life if the shoes were not returned by 8 o'clock that evening. In the meantime, Vybz Kartel and his co-accused to continue to wait on leave to be granted so that the case can go before the Privy Council in the United Kingdom. After an official application had been filed in June on behalf of the entertainer and his 3 co-convicts to go to Jamaica's highest court in this matter. The process is going smoothly. We're still waiting on a final leave from the local Court of Appeal to go to the Privy Council. They have some housekeeping to do, but we have completed what we're supposed to do. This is what Buchanan has said. The legal teams have to seek permission from the Court of Appeal in order to take the case overseas to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council in London, the final appellate court of Jamaica. 3 of the defendants have changed representation for the Privy Council proceedings, as Kartel is now represented by Buchanan, while John Clark is the attorney for Jones and Andre St. John. Sean Storm Campbell has retained Bert Samuels as his lawyer. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments down below on the various matters that have been discussed in this session. Do you agree with the Prime Minister that the curfew hours should start at 10 p.m. on Boxing Day, New Year's Day, and Christmas Day? And do you agree with the relaxation that has been given for other days in Christmas in terms of December days? Do you agree with the Commissioner that they should put in place the state of public emergencies that they had in place prior to the general elections? And are you saddened by the passing of all of these persons in St. Catherine North? Do you believe that the police and the army will be able to curb crime as Christmas draws closer? Of course, do you also believe that the attorneys of Vybz Kartel and his fellow co-accused will gain access to his cell phone? Well, thanks for watching, and remember to be safe. Remain vigilant during these extremely difficult times. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.